So we finally got to hear Pete Carroll speak to the media, talking about the Geno Smith trade, talking about everything going on with the Raiders right now, talking about free agency, the draft. We all just found out about the Devin White signing. I want to also talk about Ashton Jeanty because he just shined at Pro Day in front of the scouts. I want to update you guys about everything going on with the Raiders and break down some of the things that Pete Carroll said. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, and with your support, I believe that we can get there super fast. Alright, so first things first, let's talk about the new signing of Devin White. White has a connection with new Raiders general manager John Spytek and minority owner Tom Brady, stemming from their time together in Tampa Bay. White was drafted by the Buccaneers with the 5th overall pick of the 2019 draft. He spent 5 seasons with the Buccaneers and collected 585 tackles and 23 sacks in 76 career games. He played a big role in helping the Buccaneers win a Super Bowl in 2020 when he posted a career best 140 tackles and 9 sacks. In Las Vegas, White will have a chance to compete for a starting job in a position that the Raiders are pretty thin in. Even though the Raiders signed former Steeler Landon Roberts, they lost Robert Spillane and Diablo in free agency. The Raiders did attempt to sign restricted free agent linebacker Christian Ellis, but the Patriots matched their offer. Alright, now moving on, let's take a look at what Pete Carroll had to say, because I know a ton of Raiders fans are stoked to have him as the new head coach. First, he was of course asked about Geno Smith, and this is what he commented on.
Yeah, well, getting Geno was a really important part of this puzzle, putting it together. And we've had really a rich background, and it's really important to me because I know what we can count on. We have a guy that's such a great worker. He's grown so much through his career, been through so much and overcome so much. I love the way he approaches the game. He's serious, he's competitive, works his tail off, and he's a great leader in that regard. He leads the guys by the way he takes to the game. And man, he's talented,
He talked about Geno being a guy that he knows he can count on. He knows what to expect. He said he loved the way he approaches the game and that he works his tail off and is a great leader. And on top of that, he said he's talented. Now, I already know those words are going to get the trolls to come out, and I know Geno did have his struggles in Seattle, but I think Pete Carroll is right. It's always good to have a high character guy leading your team. He's durable, he's tough, and he is always willing to overcome. His career has just been filled with adversity, and he was top 5 in the league in passing yards in 2024. So if he can just figure out how to make better decisions and not turn the ball over so much, he could be the QB of the future. I hate that the rep on him is that he is a bad QB that has reached his ceiling, because it's just not true. Pete Carroll was also asked about what it is like taking over a franchise that has struggled over the last few years, and this was his answer to that.
Before you came in and started making holistic changes, you were going to try to learn the franchise. That you knew what you would want to do, but you want to learn. Can you tell me what you've learned about the Rays?
Yeah, that I don't need to worry about what happened in the past. They've had a hard time for a number of years, and it hasn't been smooth in any way. But I grew up knowing the franchise and knowing Al Davis and what he was all about, being in the Bay Area. And knew that there's a rich history, there's a legacy, there's a brand that is worldwide, and there's something special about that. And there's a great following. The organization is a real deal, and I look at it now that I've been around enough. I did not spend a lot of time on the past, but I needed to understand, and I needed to know the people that I'm going to be working with the thought that Johnny Spytek coming in, that was the focus for me, is to focus on figuring out how John and I can get together and do our stuff and be really effective.
I think this is a great approach to taking over a new team. You can't really worry about what has happened in the past. You have to bring your new approach and go with it. But he did also acknowledge that he has paid attention to the past because it's good to know the guys up top and what they want to see happen. Because to give you an example, I unfortunately am a Cleveland Browns fan, and if a new GM came in, he probably should know that Cleveland is absolutely cursed when it comes to the quarterback position, and he should know the #1 priority is to somehow find a QB for the future. Anyways, moving on, let's talk about Ashton Jeanty, because when we talk about the draft from a Raiders perspective, Jeanty is kind of the face of all the headlines, and there is no doubt in my mind that he will be a good player and would be a great pick, and he definitely fills an area of need in Vegas. Really, the big question is just, do you draft him at 6, or do you trade down, or do you take somebody else, because 6 is too high for Jeanty and it's not worth it to trade down? down. Those are the things being talked about right now, because there also is that possibility of one of the top 2 QBs falling to 6. At this point, it is a very, very slim possibility, but it is a possibility, and that is all that matters. Anyways, moving on, let's talk about Ashton Jeanty, because when we talk about the draft from a Raiders perspective, Jeanty is kind of the face of all the headlines, and there is no doubt that he will be a good player and would be a great pick, and he definitely fills an area of need in Vegas. And one thing to really think about with this draft class is that running back is by far the deepest position, and it's not even close. Right now, there are about 20 to 25 NFL caliber running backs that are gonna be on the board. So the Raiders may think it's better to draft like a Ted McMillan if he's available to get Geno a weapon before they attack the running back position in the later rounds, where they could get like a Judkins or a Henderson. Personally, if you know me, I'm completely aboard the Ashton Jeanty hype train. I think he has a chance to be a Saquon Barkley type of impact player in a different way. I think he's a guy you can't take down one-on-one. He reminds me a lot of Derrick Henry, and I can't stand the way running backs are viewed now in the NFL, because they are still one of the most important positions on the field. We saw the Eagles win a Super Bowl, big thanks to the play of Barkley and his impact. I don't think running back is a position you should wait till later on just because of the brand new narrative of the position that is not even true. I think Jeanty is a potential generational running back, one that only comes into the league every few decades. He is that good. But that's just me. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. But going back to what I was saying about Travion Henderson and Quinshot Judkins, the reason why those two names are so appealing is because Chip Kelly was hired to be the new OC, and he of course knows a lot about those guys, and he knows how to set them up in a position to succeed. Obviously the NFL is a lot different than college, but still nonetheless it's football. It's the same game, nothing changes there, and he knows the tendencies. And between the two, I would be leaning Henderson because he is just a great guy to have in your locker room. I'm not saying Judkins is not, but I know he is a high class and caring individual. I think he is faster and has a quicker burst, and we saw him take a screen to the house to change everything in that Ohio State vs Texas playoff game. Here's what Bucky Brooks and Rhett Lewis had to say about Chip Kelly and his relationship with this draft class.
What this franchise looks like from that position.
The knowledge from Chip Kelly goes beyond just what he was able to do as an offensive play caller. Remember, he was a head coach at UCLA.
Yeah.
He recruited a lot of guys that are in this class.
Yeah.
Knowing that intel, being able to track their development over a 3 or 4 year period is going to really help him make some hard assessments. The other thing that we know from Pete Carroll, when it comes to the running back, he wants a workhorse.
Well, I think Pete Carroll said it himself. He wants a workhorse, and let me tell you, Ashton Jeanty is the definition of a workhorse. I think overall the Raiders are definitely headed in the right direction, and this was just such a pivotal offseason. I think in 5 years we are going to look back at these last few months and we are going to say, this is where everything changed. This is where the Raiders picked their new direction and renewed themselves. I really like their core now of Geno Smith, Brock Bowers, Max Crosby, and all the young guys they have. I think they signed a lot of value for cheap in free agency, and I think the Raiders now have the coaching staff to lead this team in the direction they want to go. That's really all I have to say for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly does mean the world. And also, let me know who you'd like to see next, and until then, I will see you all later.